Hello everybody and welcome to the YouTube character profile re-upload for Becky McDonald.
Or Granger.
Great, I don't know.
Well,
who cares? She's great. I love her. Oh, Becky McDonald. We don't talk about her on the podcast anymore, do we? She doesn't really have very much relevance in Coronation Street anymore. It's so sad because Becky was one of our favourite characters back in the day. I mean, back when we recorded this, which was in episode 25 of the podcast, I think you might go so far as to have said that she was your favourite character ever.
Definitely, we talk about her in very glowing terms and say that she's fantastic.
This was before Pat Phelan came along and took over. But
oh yeah.
I don't know. Is she? Oh, I just think she's wonderful, and I still long for a Becky return. But at least for a couple of minutes now, we can have a little chat.
Yeah, we can reminisce about our lovely Becky and what she got up to.
Yeah, so everybody, listen to this. This is recorded back in, I'm going to say early 2013, maybe late 2012. I don't know for the podcast. The sound quality is pretty awful, I have to say. So apologies in advance. But we will come back at the end of it just to have a final sum up of Becky and thoughts on what Catherine Kelly's been up to since as well. So here we are, past Michael and Gemma, talking about Becky McDonald.
Our classic character profile this week is Becky McDonald.
Yeah, we thought we'd do her because we always like to choose a classic character that's somehow related to the goings-on in the street during the week, and because of Kylie's high profile this week, thought it would be a good opportunity to go for Gemma's favourite ever. Am I right in saying? Mm-hmm. Yeah, Corrie character. Yeah.
Becky Granger, born in 1980, married to Steve McDonald in 2009, one sister, half-sister, Kylie Platt. Mm-hmm. She first appeared on the 5th of February 2006 and last appeared on the 23rd of January 2012. She was in 704 episodes, which is very low considering the impact that she made.
I know, I was surprised when I saw 704, but she was only in it for like 6 years or so.
She's played by Catherine Kelly.
Yeah.
And there's some notable facts about Becky. She was the 50th barmaid at the Rovers at the end of June in 2008. And like quite a few other characters, we've learned she was only contracted for 3 months, but she impressed the bosses so much that they asked her to stay on longer. And when she returned after a little break, she was supposed to bring some family members with her to shock the street, which I would imagine would be along the same lines as Janice and co.
Yeah, definitely kind of a shabby family.
Or she was going to die. Earlier on, I don't know. I don't know how advanced the plans were for that, or whether they thought about that. And she also got Coronation Street in trouble because of the amount of cigarette butts that she throws. Really? She's quite a. If you think about her standing around on the street, it's quite a common Becky move to be sort of sucking on the end of a cigarette and then throwing it viciously into the road, which is what Kylie does now as well.
Yeah.
And it was some environmental agencies complained about it and said that she should be fined. They said that it wouldn't really hurt Corrie to just put in her getting a little fine, and it would prove that you can't just go around throwing cigarette butts everywhere. And Coronation Street had to defend Becky and say that she was under great stress, which is not really an excuse, but there you go.
No.
Really, their defence should have been it's just a television.
Yeah, it's not real.
So the backstory to Becky's character was that she was abandoned by her abusive, drug-taking mother when she was 7, and she went into care.
I think it was Kerr, as they would
she
say
was
in
taken into
Weatherfield.
Kerr, and none of her foster families were willing to adopt her because she was
bit of a tearaway.
Bit horrible when she first appeared in the street.
I remember her very first episode, I think this is right, was Kelly, Crabtree, and probably Lloyd at the time were coming out of a building with a police station or something, and Becky was there. She was homeless, kind of huddled up on the side of the street, and Kelly was like, "Oh, hello, Becky," and Becky was really, really clingy to Kylie for a little while, wasn't she? And she was hanging around, stalking her a bit to Kelly. Yeah, she was kind of stalking her a bit, and that's how she got into the street.
I remember reading Catherine Kelly saying that when she was on her way to the audition, she'd done an audition already that day and she had to look really glamorous. But for this audition, she specifically had to look dishevelled and homeless. She was apparently on the tube, like scrubbing up her face and sort of like making herself mucky and ruining her hair, and everyone must have thought she was nuts.
Well, she did a good job.
Well, yeah, so in 2006, she meets Kelly Crabtree, from prison, and asks her to get a job at Underworld. but it doesn't work out so well for Kelly because Becky frames her for theft and then runs away. She returns that same year to get a job at the cafe thanks to Hayley, who meets her at an ex-offenders literary club.
Yeah, Hayley has this extra kind of hobby, I guess, doesn't she, for a little bit? She goes and helps out with some, teach the ex-cons to do some reading, and that's when Becky comes back into it. And that was the start of the beautiful friendship between Becky and the Croppers.
Well, it doesn't get off to a good start because in 2007 she steals the Croppers' prized Morris Minor with Slug, her boyfriend, and she also just nicks out the till and stuff. When the cafe burns down, Hayley and Roy really don't have much choice but to assume that it was Becky who did it. But they reconcile when they discover that it was just an electrical fault that caused the flames. And there's also a storyline that's mostly to do with Hayley, but Becky helps her to track down her son, and then she winds up attacking him because he rejects Hayley.
If we had been doing the podcast, Hayley having a son would have been the Bobbins Award for the year. That was utterly ridiculous.
Well, Hayley doesn't seem to care about.
Well, it hasn't been mentioned since, thank goodness. But that kind of showed that storyline when Becky was going off and finding this son of Hayley's and beating him up. Just showed how sort of loyal she was to the Croppers.
Shows she's loyal, and it also shows that she is not afraid to get her fists dirty for someone she loves, basically. And this kind of violent streak just remains in her.
Yeah, when she was when she was first in it, and she was this sort of not very nice character, it seemed, but they wanted the viewers to be able to sort of see the nice side of her, and I think pairing her up with the Croppers was a genius stroke of I think that Catherine Kelly says that really her friendship with Hayley and Roy is what allows the viewers to sympathise with her, because they think Roy and Hayley like her, there must be something nice about her. And it's the fact that she likes Roy and Hayley because lots of other people in the streets are
really horrible, really. I mean, they tolerate Hayley and Roy, but I do think that a lot of people think they're stupid or look down on them.
They're just weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. But and so many times over the years, Becky has sort of defended them to whoever's been sort of saying these horrible things about them.
Yeah. In 2008, Becky starts going out with Jason Grimshaw, and then she cheats on him after 7 months with Steve McDonald. And Jason ends up breaking it off with Becky in the hopes that he can get back with Sarah, his wife. Becky attacks Jason, goes on a drunken rampage, and ends up vandalising a police car. She gets brought in by the police and is questioned by DC Hooch, who is an old enemy of hers.
He arrested her when she was young and then molested her. Yeah.
So Becky makes Steve give her an alibi, and she threatens to tell Michelle Connor that Becky and Steve had an affair if he doesn't go along with it. And she also reveals to Steve what had happened with Hooch in the past.
Yeah, there was all that trial storyline was when they got together properly, wasn't it? Because it started off platonic-ish, and then didn't Blanche spot Steve and Becky at the courthouse together and Steve was trying to hide it from Michelle that he was there, and it kind of all...
Steve's not very good at being sneaky.
No, he's definitely not. He's very good at being found out. I thought even back then that Becky and Steve are perfectly suited to each other. I mean, after Karen left, I didn't think there could be anyone that could sort of match her for sort of feistiness and just so well suited to Steve. Karen and Steve were a brilliant couple, and because Karen was so feisty, like you said, and just as a double act, Saran Jones and Simon Gregson, fantastic, and I was gutted when Karen left, but Becky and him worked really, really well together. It was very similar, the relationship they had, wasn't it?
Yeah, I do not think it works out as well with Michelle.
No, God, they're boring, Michelle and Steve.
I'd actually forgotten that they used to go out with each other until I did this.
Who? Steve and Michelle?
Yeah.
Yeah, back in the olden days of 2008.
So in 2009, Becky gets 2 marriage proposals because both Jason and Steve ask Becky to marry them, and she ends up picking Steve. But on the actual day of the wedding, she can't get married because she's too drunk.
That's hilarious. Do you remember
that? Was that the one where she was wearing her pink tutu dress, like the Barbie doll, and she was just singing from the top of the scaffolds and having a brilliant time because she was just so excited.
Yeah, and she's there at the register office, and slurring her words and everything, and then the registrar's like, "Oh, I can't marry you."
Yeah. The second ceremony doesn't go as well. The second ceremony doesn't go well either because Becky's set up for drug dealing. When Slug comes back and he plants drugs on her, he's working for Hooch, and so the reception is broken up by a raid. They manage to get enough information from Slug which allows them to blackmail Hooch to get Becky off the hook.
Yeah.
Handy. Good. 2010 is the year that Becky discovers she can't have children after 2 miscarriages.
Yeah, Steve knows how to pick them, doesn't he? Because that was similar to Karen as well. She couldn't have children, could she? No.
So it's very unfortunate for Becky because she absolutely loves kids and she wants nothing more really than to have her own child. So they decide to adopt, but Becky is turned down because they need to get good references from Tracy and Kylie.
Yeah, because wasn't this at the same time that Faye was adopted?
Yes.
And Anna and Eddie were going through the same process as them, and they were kind of almost competing about who'd be the first one to adopt.
To get a kid, yeah.
So Becky needs to get these references, and this is when we're introduced to her nasty piece of work half-sister Kylie, who doesn't give them.
No, she gives her a bad reference, and that's why. And also because it was so close to Becky's miscarriages that the adoption agency thought that she really wasn't mentally prepared.
Yeah, she thought it was, I guess,
it was
a
just
rebound adoption.
Yeah, exactly. But Becky does help Kylie to get Max back because she just wants a family, really. And
doesn't Kylie try and sell Max to Becky and Steve?
Yeah, she offers to sell Max for 20 grand.
Yeah.
Because she wants to move to Cyprus with her boyfriend and she needs a bit of cash. So that goes through.
Yeah.
She disappears and they've got Max, and Becky couldn't be happier really because she loves Max so much.
And then
they have money troubles because of this.
Yeah, and does she come back demanding more?
Yeah, she comes back because the cash has run out.
Yeah.
And on the night of the tram crash, Becky steals £5,000 from the wreckage of Dev's in order to give Kylie some more money.
That was brilliant. I mean, the whole tram crash was excellent, but I remember Becky sort of crawling around the back streets and getting into the safe, and wasn't Sunita kind of under a pile of rubble or something as well there?
Yeah. She doesn't help her, does she? She gets the money.
Yeah.
Because she figures that it's going to be an insurance write-off. So she might as well take it. Steve, when he finds out, is completely horrified that she could do that, but Becky will stop at nothing really to fight for her kids.
Yeah.
So Tracy comes back from prison and discovers Becky's secret, and they have to bribe her by giving her Amy, otherwise she'll tell.
Oh yeah, of course. That's how she got Amy. I forgot about that.
Tracy is attacked and they blame Becky until Claire Peacock says, actually, it was me. And then Becky does admit to looting Dev's, and Sunita gets very upset because she knows that Becky just basically crawled over her body
to get this money.
Get cash.
So 2011 was kind of Becky's last full year in the street. Liz is making...
And it wasn't a good year for her.
Unfortunately not. Liz is making life very difficult for Becky. She kicks her out, and that's when Jim came back and he tried to buy the Rovers from Becky and Steve, and we all know how he tried to get the money from there for that. He tries to rob the bank.
That backfires somewhat.
Yeah, so he goes back to the big heist.
Becky and Steve had planned to use this money to escape abroad with Amy, but once Jim's little plan doesn't quite pan out how he intended, they have to cancel this, and then Steve goes behind Becky's back to phone social services about Max. And
Why does he do that again?
I had forgotten. I've suddenly thought maybe it was because he wants Amy back, and he knows that the only thing Tracy's got over them is Max.
Yeah, I think
so
that's
perhaps
right.
that was his stupid reasoning. I couldn't believe it at the time that he did that.
No. Max was lovely. He's much. Back at the time, I thought that I really wanted Becky and Steve and Max to stay together as a little happy family. That would have been nice.
Becky blames Tracy when Max is taken into care, and she runs into Deirdre and Ken's house with a sledgehammer and starts crashing and bashing and smashing things.
Yeah, we watched that scene today in preparation, didn't we?
She's just going nuts.
Absolutely insane.
If I was Ken and Deirdre, I would be so cross. I'd be like, "Excuse me, lady, you're not smashing up. Actually, Tracy's bedroom's up there if you want to go."
Deirdre was so shocked she didn't even have time to shout, "Do something, Ken!"
No, she just went, "Ken?"
Yeah. But I definitely can see shades of kind of Catherine Kelly's acting there in what Natalie Comedy does. Just kind of the looks, the evil glints in her eye, the twitches. She's like unhinged.
Corrie loves a villain who revels in their madness.
Yeah.
And so do we. She's just about to hit Tracy, and Steve confesses it was him. And Becky really doesn't have any choice but to walk out on him, knowing that he had betrayed her so much. So she splits from Steve, but she's still attached to him in the Rovers. And because she loved working there, I think, didn't she?
Yeah.
Because it was the first
proper job
that she really had. So when she finds out that Stella's taken over as landlady, she goes in and trashes the pub, and she's playing music and being annoying, basically. Meanwhile, Steve's starting a relationship with Tracy.
Idiot.
When she tells him she's pregnant with twins, and they're his.
Tracy's pregnant
with twins because they had a one-night stand. And so they get engaged. Brilliant.
Yeah, still don't really understand Steve's reasoning behind that.
So obviously, before they can get married, Becky and Steve have to get divorced. So when they do, Becky gets half of his money, half of his cash, and so she uses the money to buy Lloyd's share of streetcars. So she'll end up being his business partner. It was sort of a plan, really, to get back with him, I think, but also because she wanted to make something of herself in life.
Yeah.
So she tries to build the business up. She gets quite excited, as I remember, about building streetcars properly. So she has a meeting with hotel owner Danny Stratton, and she has to go along with Steve, obviously, because it's half of his business.
Yeah.
So Tracy gets hysterically jealous about this, and she follows them to the hotel. And while she's running around like a moron in the hallways, knocking on doors, she has a miscarriage.
Oh dear.
Yeah. And the next day, Becky and Tracy have another confrontation at Tracy's flat, and Tracy faints. Oh no, it's Becky's flat. Tracy faints and she falls down the stairs. Yeah,
and she then blames Becky for the miscarriage, doesn't she?
Yeah, she says, Becky pushed me.
Yeah.
Everyone believes her, and even Hayley starts to
why did everyone believe Tracy? I don't think that was very believable.
Well, to be fair, Becky's nuts.
But she's not a murderer. Unlike Tracy.
Becky is more upset at the implication that she would have done anything to hurt babies.
Yeah.
Especially Steve's babies.
That's true. Even if it's Tracy, she wouldn't have done that.
Well, she kind of it's almost like it's the unsaid thing is like, of course I'd push Tracy down the stairs because I hate her, but I would never push her unborn children. Yeah. But
Tina was. She did that to Kirsty this year.
So Becky gets drunk and burns photos of herself and Steve, which causes a fire, and she ends up having to be rescued from her flat, which is up in flames, by Nick.
Oh, good old Nick.
Nick saves the day. So she starts dating Danny, and Danny tells Becky that he wants her to move to Barbados with him.
And this was Danny who just suddenly appeared out of nowhere, wasn't it, one day, with a little child?
Yeah. She thinks he kind of wants her to look after the kid or something, I think.
Yeah.
And then he also reveals to her that Tracy had been at the hotel and collapsed and had a miscarriage before the day that everyone says Becky had pushed her down the stairs.
Yeah, so Becky then enlists Gail's help
Gail and Kylie
to go and sneak around in the medical centre and get this evidence printed out from the computer.
Wasn't it like one of them pretended to to sort of be ill in the waiting room or something.
Yeah, Kylie fainted on the floor or something. It was a bit of a farcical scene.
The other one snuck into the office and managed to print effortlessly.
Yeah.
Like, anyone who's ever used a printer with somebody else's computer knows it's like paper jam, no paper, run out of ink, press start, press turn off. I don't understand what I'm doing.
Well, it all went
somehow
well.
They managed to silently print out about a ream of paper.
Yeah, all went okay. Got the paper, and then on the day of Stephen Tracy's wedding at the reception, Becky reveals all.
Yeah.
And leaves triumphant.
Yeah, we covered this quite recently because obviously this happened in 2012.
Yeah, that was our Tara Best Exits award, wasn't it?
Yeah, she has a brief reunion with Steve at the airport before she leaves for Barbados, and he apologises and says, "You were right all along," which is all we wanted to hear, really.
Yeah.
And she goes off. She says her famous last words, and she's off with Danny in Barbados.
Yeah. Hopefully to come back one day.
The last we really hear about her is in February 2012 when she phones Roy. She's obviously not on screen or even heard, but she tells Roy and Hayley that she's engaged.
So she's living happily ever after.
That's nice.
Yeah. So why is Becky such an important character for you? Why is she one of your favourite character?
Well, when I was reading, sort of, if you boil down everything she's ever done, and you didn't know anything about her and you just started watching it and you were listening to this character profile, you would think, what a nut job. She's just dreadful. Why would you ever think she is the best character? She just sounds horrible. But something about Catherine Kelly's performance as Becky that she's really charismatic.
Yeah.
And she's such a sympathetic character too, because she tries her best but it's never quite good enough.
Yeah, she's got such a big heart.
Yeah, exactly. She's so easy. She's so ready with her love for people that give her a chance. So she's utterly devoted to Steve because he loved her.
Yeah.
And the same with Hayley and Roy and Max, even
really
though
protective.
Yeah, and Amy, and her sort of struggle to have children too was kind of touching because it was so sad that she could never have children. I mean, it's kind of same as what's happening with Julie in a way.
Yeah.
Because she just wants kids.
Yeah. So when she was sad, you felt sad with her, and you could see how sad and sort of low she got. But when she was up and happy, like on that wedding, when she was like screaming into the sky that she was getting married, you were there with her as well.
Yeah.
And then when she was crazy, she was proper crazy.
Yeah, and she was
didn't do anything in half measures.
And you just knew that whenever there was a scene with Becky in it was going to be good.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It's a bit like Kirsty at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, I would never say that Kirsty was my favourite character because you can't connect to her in the same way that you can with Becky, because there's always barriers that the writers are putting up between you and Kirsty, but they always wanted you to sympathise with Becky. But you know, when everyone was being horrible to her over Tracy, you just wanted to scream at them.
Yeah, well, Catherine Kelly won lots of awards during her time, didn't she?
She got nominated for loads, and she won loads too. And I didn't get anywhere near writing down everything that she won. So she's won a lot more than this. There was paragraphs of it. But in 2009, she won the Best Actress award at the British Soap Awards, and she had loads of nominations for the Best Actress. She also got the award for Best Serial Performance at the National Television Award in the same year. April 2012, she won Best Exit at the British Soap Awards, and Becky's Final Farewell was voted single best episode.
Yeah. So,
and she also won the Conversation Street
Tara Award last year.
Congratulations. So I'll get a trophy made up. No.
Yeah, what a classic character, an icon, I think. Hopefully remembered in years to come.
I hope so. I mean, the fact that she was the 50th barmaid kind of seals her legacy somewhat, but I don't think anyone will remember her as a barmaid.
Oh no, definitely not. No.
She was a lot more than that.
Yeah. And I don't think that Kylie really is as good.
No. They haven't given her the same.
No, not yet.
You can't have too many characters like this. She was a sort of one-off. You can't. I mean, people likened her to other characters, but as far as I can see, there's no one like Becky. I mean, you can't make another Becky. You can't make another Betty.
Yeah, the truly sort of classic characters, they are one-offs, aren't they? And anyone else if they tried to make them like her, it'd come off as being an imitation.
Well, all the people they've come and say, oh, it's the new Bet Lynch. It's like,
yeah,
why? No. Just make them the original whoever they are.
Exactly.
And we're back. Sound quality is better now.
Maybe.
Sorry, thank you if you sat through this. I hope it's better now anyway. Anyway, yeah, it was so lovely hearing back about Becky again. She's just like, she was the best. Catherine Kelly was such a fantastic actress.
I know, yeah. We I think at the end I tried to sum up what it was I like Becky. It's very difficult because it really is the charismatic nature of the actress sometimes, isn't it? Or the actor who plays the character that makes them so exciting to watch, because honestly, her storylines, when we recounted them, they were a bit like, oh, really? And then she
she was just so talented and was one of these actresses that, you know, you just can't take your gaze off her once she's on the screen. She lived and embodied the role, and she was. I loved her, and
she's gone on to do some great things since.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, we saw a bit of her in a lot of her in Mr. Selfridge, the bit that we watched.
Yeah, that was great. I enjoyed that.
We obviously watched Class as well, didn't we?
Yeah, so, perhaps not
that ill-fated BBC Three kids programme. It was a Doctor Who spin-off, I think.
It's got a great theme tune.
It has. Gemma's got it on her phone, actually. I don't know whether we've seen her in much else, but she's done plenty. I don't think she's been awarded for anything yet for some reason, but she has most certainly joined the esteemed Corrie alumni alongside, you know, Saran Jones, Sarah Lancashire, obviously.
I think you have got to be a lady.
Maybe.
Arthur Lowe.
Arthur Lowe, yeah, that was a while ago, wasn't it? But one day maybe Becky will return. I hope so, because I honestly have so many fond memories of her. And Michelle as a replacement wife for Steve just didn't really cut it, did she?
This.
Oh well, but he's with Tracy now at least, which we're kind of enjoying, I suppose. Anyway. I think we will do. I hope you enjoyed that little trip down memory lane, everybody. We certainly did, and that's it. That is it. We will be back at the weekend with a normal podcast. So until then, ta-ra for now. Bye-bye.
Bye.